Welcome to Cardinals Cover 2 with Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki. Cardinals Cover 2 is brought to you by Arizona Cardinals Podcasts. Visit azcardinals.com/podcasts. From the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, here's Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki.
So I kind of feel like I'm a 7-year-old all over again. You know, we have all been there. Long road trip, long car ride. You're in the back seat.
Are we there yet?
Are we there yet? And your mom and your dad, whomever's driving, says, no.
You said it was going to be an hour and a half. Well, it's only been 20 minutes.
I think we're almost there, though. I think we can say
Light
yes.
at the end of the tunnel. What are we, 27 hours away? The Cardinals will be on the clock 27 hours from right now.
That's exciting.
Finally.
I worry, though. I don't know.
What are you worried about?
No, I just let me finish. As you know, with this hype and this build-up, is there going to be a little bit of a letdown on Friday? Or maybe like Thursday night? Or are we just all going to be relieved that it's all over with?
It depends. I mean, you got the Rosen fans, and then you got the Bosa fans, and you got Williams fans, and I really think those three guys are in the mix. It could be more. You never know. And then do they trade down? Do they acquire more picks?
No, don't. You know what? Don't trade down. We've waited long enough. We don't need to wait anymore.
Well, they wouldn't go down too far. You know, a trade partner, you got to look with teams with multiple picks. I think the Giants will keep 6 and 17, but the Raiders have 3 first-round picks. Seattle has 2, but I assume they'll try to get out of there because they only had 4 picks going into yesterday, and now they acquired more picks in the Frank Clark trade. So teams that have multiple picks like the Packers, Giants, Raiders, Seahawks, they're going to control some of the draft, but I keep hearing the Jets want to get out of 3, though, but they lost out on Anthony Barr. He kind of had cold feet and went back to Minnesota. Now they got C.J. Mosley, but you would think Josh Allen or Quinnen Williams there. So if there's a trade, and if the Cardinals don't trade, I don't see the Niners trade. I think they'll turn the card in pretty quick. But last year, I think we had 20 trades in the first couple of rounds total.
First 2 days?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I anticipate, because some teams are going to try to move back, get creative, and again, you know, not a lot of teams have 10 or 11, 12 picks, and the Cardinals, luckily, right now, they have 10 picks.
The funny thing is, even this close to draft day, no one knows still what the Cardinals are going to do. It's still a guessing game.
Well, I think 3 people know.
Yeah, we've discussed this. I think as many as no more than 5 or 6 and as few as 2 know exactly what is going to happen.
Yesterday, what was Cliff's quote? The hay is...
The hay is not in the barn yet.
Yeah.
We're still working things through.
Yeah. I got to think, as of today, the hay's in the barn.
I would think they would.
Now, they had a picture of the brass.
That's true.
Michael Bidwell, Steve
azcardinals.com, and on the social media account at azcardinals had the trio. Team President Michael Bidwell, General Manager Steve Keim, and Head Coach Cliff Kingsbury inside the draft room.
Just those 3.
Yes. As it was tweeted out, the calm before the storm. We'll see how exciting it is tomorrow.
I think on that picture, I want to say, just guessing, the hay is in the barn.
Well, they were smiling, so that's good news.
Right.
Don't know what they were smiling about, but we'll all wait and see come tomorrow. And with that, let's take off here on this Wednesday, let you know what's ahead on the show. Yes, the draft is just 1 day away. Christian Kirk helps you get out of work early, if interested, of course, to head to tomorrow's draft party at State Farm Stadium. The draft is taking place in Nashville this year. We've got boots on the ground with Lisa Matthews and Kyle Odegard. Kyler Murray and Nick Bosa, 2 of the more talked about prospects. Got an interesting look at both and how they're able to do what they do best. And, of course, your questions via social media using the hashtag CardsCover2, hashtag CardsCover2. Another set of questions which I'm sure will revolve around the draft here as we are now just a little over 24 hours away. But first things first, the news of the day, and it is day 2 of the voluntary veteran minicamp The team was once again on the field here late this morning. No media availability, but Darren Urban has a fine photo gallery up on azcardinals.com. Yesterday, practice was open, albeit briefly to the media. First 20 minutes or so, just enough time to kind of watch the team stretch and then go through individual position drills. So after 2 weeks of meetings, now finally on the field. And, of course, yeah, you got to get familiar with some new numbers. Number 56 for those watching us here on azcardinals.com or via YouTube. We're watching some B-roll of that first practice. And, number 56 is Terrell Suggs. Number 20 is Robert Alford. So it's going to take some getting used to on some of those guys that are wearing new numbers or familiar numbers, but just different people inside of those numbers.
Yeah, included Budda Baker.
Yes, that's right, number 32.
And then you throw in DJ Swearinger. He gets his number back, 36.
Yeah, and
Larry's still number 11.
I don't see him giving up that number.
Probably going to retire that number.
And, of course, you know, as the B-roll ends, it's a one-handed catch from Fitz. And this is day one on the field, and he's still making one-handed grabs. And what was Kingsbury's comments when he met the media after practice? That Fitz was, quote, running full-speed routes every time, unquote.
Well, I mean, I think if you're any coach, and obviously Denny Green got a chance to see it up close and personal, but any other coach after that, when you watch Larry Fitzgerald practice, Cliff's going to figure it out, just the one-handed catches, but the effort's there, the energy's there. He's helping the young receivers. But there are times if he catches the ball, he's off to the races, and he'll continue the route running down the field. And a lot of times they'll maybe, if let's say you're at the midfield and you make a catch, then maybe they'll stop at the 20. He goes into the end zone, something he likes to do on game day.
Well, they say practice how you play, because what you do during the week, and this goes for anything, but if you want to get into game ready or get in that mindset, then you should practice like that. And maybe not 100%, but at least don't slack off.
Yeah, and we've been spoiled over the years. I told you that story when Kurt Warner went into the Hall of Fame and they practiced outside that day and there was no Larry on the field. I'm like, this is not good. Because when you go to training camp, and obviously it's free parking and free admission, you get out of the heat, unless they're outside, which is closed to the public. He makes these catches in practice all the time.
Yeah, I mean, some of his best catches you don't see.
And who's guarding him in practice? Patrick Peterson. And Matthew and him used to go at it a little bit.
Oh, so yeah, some of the best battles, even up in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
Patrick Peterson and Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, so, I mean, and he'll tell you the number one corner he's gone against in the NFL is Patrick Peterson because he does it in practice, and it obviously makes both players better.
Team is scheduled to be on the field one more time on Thursday, and then, of course, they'll revert back to Phase 2 of the off-season strength and conditioning program. And, again, this is all voluntary right now, but so far a good turnout by the number of cars in the parking lot here at the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center. So day one afterwards, this, of course, the first time Kingsbury actually on the field with his new team. And here's his thoughts on actually seeing what perhaps is the 2019 future of the Arizona Cardinals.
It's been fun to get right out there and Chad and Josh and just put them through some drills we do and start installing our systems. Not a ton of competitive stuff versus the defense, but a great opportunity to get out there and get reps and get things captured on film that we can coach off of.
Yeah, the reps he's mentioned a couple of times, and he used the word tons as far as trying to get as much as possible on film, because then you can go back and say, all right, this is what they got. This is what we still need to work on. And, this is going to happen over the next several weeks, as I think, we discussed it earlier, like, do you throw everything at them or is it slow? And I think right now, because it's a brand new offense and a brand new defense, you might want to do it in increments and see how much they retain and then add to it. But at least from everything that we've heard, so far so good. Again, it was just 2 days.
Yeah, I noticed Cliff was wearing the floppy hat out there.
Looks good.
Arians had the cane.
He was throwing the ball too.
There he is, right there.
And he football in his hand. He was actually throwing some passes.
Very nice. Now, Wilkes, I don't know if he wore a hat, but he did wear sunglasses when they were outside.
We'll have to wait to see if Cliff breaks out the Buddy Ryan straw hat. Remember those?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
They called it the Buddy hat.
Vince Tobin would wear a hat. I don't remember McGinnis. Denny would wear
He was a
hat.
visor guy.
Visor.
Mac,
Oh, that's
Mac
right.
was a visor
okay,
guy.
good call. See that?
Come on, Jurecki.
That was pretty good there, Holmes.
That southern draw from Texas.
So floppy hat. So technically, Cardinals actually only have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. But if you needed a 4th, Kingsbury.
Yeah.
I mean, you could still swing it, right?
Sure. Oh, without a doubt. I mean, he was a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arm's still good, still loose.
He's young.
That is true. I've heard that about him. We'll have to see how much he keeps throwing here in the offseason and into training camp. And I don't know, maybe he'll fire a football your direction, and then we can compare arm strength versus Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen. But, you if the head coach is throwing you the ball, you better catch it.
Absolutely.
Even if it's a light toss.
Or otherwise, you'll hear about it.
Right.
And we're still working on film, by the way, on when
there he is. Look at that.
MJ dropped it.
I did not
I'm not going to drop it. We caught it and then, went
Yeah.
down. And
I didn't go down, but I dropped my
down
phone.
on one knee.
I was hurting for a week. 2
no.
weeks, I was ready to, go to the doctor.
Yeah,
and
Only
see
2 broken ribs.
We heard it.
2 broken ribs. Yeah, that's because I have no fat on it's bones. And the ball hit me right here.
See, you're still,
just
your
remember-
voice, you're like, oh.
Lucky it didn't hit me in the heart.
Wolf called J.J. Nelson Skeletor, but I think MJ is the original Skeletor.
Yeah, so he's no longer on the roster. I'm that guy.
Yeah, there you go. You pick up the slack.
In the office here, not
Yes.
on the field.
By the way, speaking of quarterbacks, yes, Josh Rosen did participate, as he has since day one of this offseason strength and conditioning program. The questions, though, remain about his future. Kingsbury, though, when he met the media, once again complimentary of his young quarterback.
I think Josh has done everything humanly possible to show what type of quarterback he is, what type of competitor he is, and I've said it all along. Couldn't be more impressed with his approach, and he's a great player. He's a top 10 pick for a reason. You see it out there. Just how cerebral he is, how quickly he's picked up our system. Was really impressed with his execution today. I just think there's a misconception about him. I think he's very confident in himself. He's very smart, and I think people may mistake that as arrogance sometimes. But he's a confident young man, and he asks the right questions, and he's very cerebral, and he works at it. So I've enjoyed working with him.
Again, it's only been a couple of weeks, and already you're hearing Kingsbury say how much Rosen has retained and been able to take from these meetings, the classroom work out onto the field. So that's an encouraging sign. We'll just have to see if that continues past this weekend. But if you're moving forward, you got to like what you're hearing from your head coach with a quarterback that many people say doesn't, quote-unquote, fit. Now, I don't buy that completely, but it's certainly good to, you don't need Rosen to sit there and score, 40, 45 points when you hope to have a defense that can limit the other team. But picking things up at an early pace only makes it that much easier as you continue on here in the offseason.
I know anything's possible, but the fact that they've been able to work for the last couple of weeks, not only on the field this week, but also they've been in the meetings together for at least 90 minutes, he mentioned. And obviously Charles Canoff is in there along with Brett Hundley. So it's not just Josh. All 3 quarterbacks are learning at the same time. What if he surprised them just on picking up the system? I know they're still installing, to where a point where you're thinking, we can keep this guy and maybe go defense with the first pick or try to trade down. I wouldn't go past 4, and I don't know if the Raiders are willing to mortgage the future to move up. Who are they moving up for if you're not going to take Murray? I just wonder what that conversation is like because, again, this team, nothing against T-Sizzle, Terrell Suggs, he's 37. You get Bosa, and you can't worry about if he goes to San Francisco. You got to worry about what's happening here, and then you'll focus on that when the season comes because if they decide to go with Murray, Bosa's going to have to chase him down. So I just wonder over this period of time, Josh has said all the right things. I think the organization and Josh have handled it best as you could. Obviously he's aware of what's going on. He hopes to be here. If not, then he'll figure it out going forward. And I think he'll be a successful quarterback. But it's just so interesting the options they have when you have the first overall pick.
If you believe Kyler Murray makes you significantly better, then yes, you select him. But if you're comparing these two quarterbacks, and this is the Cardinals comparison, not anyone outside locally or nationally, but if the comparison is close, then you go with what you have, what you know, versus the unknown, even though Kingsbury has this great relationship with Murray, but it's been a while since they've been together, and Rosen has been here, and he's been with the organization for over a year now. And yes, like you said, now you can go defense, or if there's some other team that is interested in Murray and they want to move up, then yeah, personally, I'd love to see this team drop down and acquire more picks because, as we talked about, there are a number of holes, a number of depth issues that if you can in this draft fill, I'm all about that.
Yeah, and by you saying that, meaning you keep Rosen then.
Correct.
And
I
you've
no problem
maintained
with
that, basically since the hire.
Since the beginning, I'm not ready to go away from a quarterback that I invested so much in 2018 in terms of draft pick, in terms of cash, and just in terms of time. I can't, as general manager, if it's my decision, I can't abandon that.
Yeah, but the only reason we're having this conversation,
True.
Cliff Kingsbury.
Yes. If it's any other head coach, this is not a conversation. You're absolutely right. So Rosen is here. Patrick Peterson is not here. It is voluntary. A lot of speculation as to why Peterson is not here. It doesn't matter at this point. It's April. Let's wait until May. Let's wait until August. But I'm not going to sit here and debate why or why not or what the reason is unless I hear it from Michael Bidwell, Steve Keim, Cliff Kingsbury, or Peterson himself. The speculation part as far as why or what, it's a waste of time.
Yeah, and you got people reporting yesterday locally. I don't know if anybody listens, but they reported that the Cardinals were shopping Patrick Peterson. 1,000% false. There's a 0 chance he's getting traded, and he does have 2 years on his contract, and I'm sure at some point, he's maintained that he would like to finish his career with the Cardinals. Now, I know that Eagles involved, and sometimes feelings get hurt, but what's the hurry? I mean, I'm sure he would like to get, he's making his number really is 11-8 this year. He's you could say he's outplayed his contract, but when he signed that contract, he was the highest paid corner in football. I mean, that's the business. He set the mark for other guys to get paid, and guys are younger, even though he's still in his prime, and maybe his best football is still ahead of him in the next couple of years. I mean, he hasn't slowed down. Looks like he's gotten better with technique. I think he's excited about playing in this defense, but I don't see them trading Patrick Peterson, and maybe at some point during the year or maybe next offseason they want to extend him. So 0 chance he's getting traded. I'll tell you that right now.
We know Peterson is a very emotional player, both the positive and then when things go bad, the negative. But what Kingsbury did tell the media earlier this week is that he had communicated with Peterson and, quote, "We know Patrick wants to be here." And for me, that's all he needed to hear, and we'll just wait until Peterson addresses it because at some point he has to. Just like last October when he had to address the reports and the speculation of a reported trade, and he addressed it several times, both in season and then once again at the Waste Management Phoenix Open.
Yeah, I thought we got past it at the Open,
too.
though. And again, I don't know all the details. I don't know what happened, but at the same time, he's under contract, and they plan on him being here, and I don't see a trade on the horizon.
It is voluntary talking about this week, but it is still an important week. A new head coach, a new offense, a new defense. Marcus Robertson, defensive backs coach, talked about that importance of these 3 days during yesterday's Coach's Chronicle podcast.
I think it's vital because of the simple fact that you're running out of time. I mean, before you know it, obviously the draft is coming this weekend. Before you know it, we'll be in OTAs, and then we're off to for the summer. And then when you come back for training camp, 2 weeks later, you're playing in a football game. So the one thing about the offseason in today's football, it's only 10 weeks, and 10 weeks go by faster than you know it.
Just hearing him give like the schedule of events, you think, oh, September, we got several months. And he's like, oh, you know what? Snap of the fingers, and here we are, week 1 against Detroit. But I invite everyone, if you haven't already heard it, but go to azcardinals.com and listen to Robertson 1. He's a great speaker, very knowledgeable, former player, and now working on the coaching side. But he had some great things to say about Budda Baker specifically, and I pulled out a quote from his talk about Baker. I see young traits of a poor man's Earl Thomas type player.
Wow.
High praise, first of all, and of course it fits because Baker grew up, from the Washington, went to Washington, and a big fan of Thomas's, and I think even worked out with him as well when he was in college.
Yeah, that's true. And Richard Sherman, yeah. I mean, I'd have to look at the measurables. Thomas isn't the biggest guy. I don't know if Buda's a little bit taller, but that is a great comp. And
but just on how
traits.
On what he envisions Baker's role in this defense, being a game changer, a ball hawk on the back end of that secondary, and something that being disruptive, which is you needed to know where Earl Thomas was.
Yeah, and Baker's still looking for his first interception in the NFL, even though he does have a scoop score, a touchdown. So he's going to get a chance to see everything where before he was playing in the box, and when you're that slot corner, you really can't look at the quarterback as much. And obviously having DJ Swearinger back with him, I think there are times we're going to see him in the box. It wouldn't surprise me if they blitz him off the edge. I mean, he's a football player, and he's only going to get better. I mean, he hasn't even scratched the surface yet. I think he's shown flashes, and the consistency's there. So I'm really excited about him in this 3-4 defense.
Just getting started here on a Wednesday afternoon as we broadcast from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, doing so in our Bose QC35s. Go to Bose.com for more information. A reminder, if you ever miss a show, you can download as a podcast via Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, or TuneIn. And don't forget, you can find all of your favorite Cardinals podcasts at azcardinals.com/podcast. By the way, a special draft preview, Cards Cover 2, tomorrow at 4, just ahead of the Cardinals being on the clock. And all day long and all weekend long, you can follow along on social media. The official hashtag of the 2019 draft for the Cardinals is #CardsDraft. So anything you want to know, type that in, and you get all Mike Jurecki's insight.
Well, we'll be tweeting out, and obviously we'll be tweeting out, retweeting some of the stuff from the Cardinals. Obviously, they have more access, and it's going to be some great audio and video coming out. I'm really looking forward to it, and it's going to be a great 3 days.
And, of course, if you want to be a part of day one on Thursday, the Cardinals official draft party is at the State Farm Stadium on the Great Lawn just outside the stadium. Admission and parking are free. azcardinals.com/draft party is where you can find all your information.
Did you see that he put out that permission slip?
Yes, we talked about it. We kind of hinted and joked about it, like if you needed help to get out of work or at school. I mean, if you're, most elementary and high schools are done by that time, but maybe you need to get out early, get out of school at 2, or you just don't go to class at night school or whatever. Here's something that might help. Christian Kirk with the assist, if you will.
What's up, Cardinals fans? It's Christian Kirk, the number 47th overall pick from the 2018 draft. The big day is coming up with the NFL draft in a couple of days. So we got you guys a permission slip to come out to State Farm Stadium at 4 p.m. to come join us for the number 1 pick. We need you guys all out there to see who we pick and show some support.
And really, that's all you should really need. And if anyone out there does use this is great. The permission slip from the Arizona Cardinals Football Club, just give it to your boss. And, if they're a Cardinals fan and an NFL fan, I'd definitely let someone off work early.
Yeah, and if it's too late now, if you're listening,
just call in sick.
Yeah, but true. But if they're going to have a huge jumbotron out there, so you don't get caught on TV.
Hey, look, you wouldn't be the first fan that'd be caught.
But if you're listening right now, maybe you start coming down with that. Yeah. I'm not feeling well.
But then, so you call in sick,
right.
You miss Thursday morning, and you're like, I got better.
Right, or you go there at noon and you just say, I'm going to take some sick time.
Take a half day.
But we definitely recommend you get out there
Absolutely.
early. I mean, gates open
at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. So there's plenty of time, and obviously you can line up to get in there. Obviously, they're going to have players, cheerleaders. We're going to have
fireworks, spectacular at
that's
the
right.
end.
So that means you stay
round.
to the end. I wouldn't go because you could see the Cardinals, if they trade down, maybe they'll get extra picks if they trade back into the first round. So I wouldn't leave, but I would definitely recommend you get there early, and you may want to put some sunscreen on, sunglasses, even get a floppy hat now.
There you go. Yeah, the Kingsbury floppy hat.
Yeah, exactly.
We should trademark that.
I saw Jurecki earlier today knocking on the war room door. No one answered, so he slid his permission slip underneath for Michael Bidwell to sign. No word if he's returned it yet.
That'd be
We
great.
did get an email from Mr. Bidwell today.
That's
that,
true.
You know, people can leave the office early tomorrow to make sure they headed out to the draft party.
They forgot to watch the 4 p.m. edition of Cover 2.
That's what Craig said.
And so the television coverage begins at 5 o'clock, and I'm looking at this like, no, Cards Cover 2 at 4 o'clock. So everyone should get out at 3 instead of 4.
Now, I know.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Yeah, we used to get this all the time at other places, especially when we worked in radio.
Friday
Everyone can
afternoon,
leave
yeah,
at
yeah.
noon, and like, no, I'm on the air from 2 to 6.
We're on the air. There's got a game later that night. Yeah, there's no such thing.
Doesn't affect the
No.
quote on-air people.
It's fine, though.
You notice I didn't use the word talent.
I'll use talent. On-air talent.
Have you been in the war room yet?
I have not. I mean, every now and then, like, the door will open as you're walking by, and you're like,
I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
they're
haven't
going to have a
seen anything.
security guard up there tomorrow. Are we going to be able to sit up there tomorrow?
I'm sure we are. Everyone, look, as you say, stay in your lane.
Oh, I'm staying in my lane.
By the way, for those that might have forgotten, we are now just 1 day away from the 2019 NFL Draft. A good collection there of past #1 overall draft picks, and I didn't notice it the first time I watched it, but I just did now. Some were a little bit more excited than others, and the one that wasn't too excited was Eli Manning because he was holding up a Chargers uniform, and of course later on he would get traded to the New York Giants. But
Did you
a lot
see-
of happy faces.
Did you see a theme in there?
Yeah, a lot of quarterbacks.
Exactly. I was wondering because they're showing all that, and then finally you start to see some position players. But that's the NFL.
That's the
the
NFL
old saying
these
is
days.
if you don't have one, you got no chance. But the theme there, quarterbacks.
That 2004 draft is when hashtag Manning face was born. Actually, they didn't have hashtags back then, but you know what I mean.
There,
Yeah.
there,
Look at
there he is.
And then
For those watching here.
Archie's like, Peyton, or Eli, just take the picture. We're going to New York.
He just
He's like, be patient, son.
out of all the pictures, he was the one guy like, he just got selected in the NFL draft, #1 overall.
And the commissioner, and they had Larry, the commissioner was mic'd up on a lot of these, and they go in and give the bro hug. It's just fascinating. Now, somebody actually tweeted today, because Nashville's in the South, they will not boo Roger Goodell.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, it depends on how many fans
Well,
travel
if
into
the Jets
Nashville.
fans are there, they're going to boo the pick.
It doesn't
Listen.
matter. Eagles fans,
Right.
there's just some fan bases that boo. It doesn't matter who.
Right. But it is the South, a little bit more hospitality.
We'll see.
It just takes 15 to 20 fans to start booing, and then everyone, they're like sheep. They'll start following.
Well, that's true. You mentioned Nashville.
Show some respect.
A year ago, it was at AT&T Stadium. By the way, let's head to Nashville. Music City, USA is where we find Lisa Matthews and Kyle Odegard.
Welcome to Nashville. Lisa Matthews, Kyle Odegard here with you. We're currently on Broadway where the main event will be taking place here tomorrow night. Of course, the Cardinals hold the #1 pick in the highly anticipated NFL draft. And Kyle, you were here last year for the NFL draft in Dallas. This year, obviously all eyes are on the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, the speculation has been crazy the last few months. Everybody's talking about Kyler Murray and Nick Bosa and what happens to Josh Rosen at the result of this pick. And we're finally almost here. It's fun to be in Nashville. The excitement is definitely building, and we're finally going to have some concrete answers very soon.
Yeah, the spotlight obviously on the Cardinals, GM Steve Keim. Just how do you feel like the organization has handled this moment up to this point?
I think they've done a great job, and everybody, no matter what they say, half the population thinks one thing and half the population thinks it's something else. So whether there's smoke screens or not, I think there's a lot of people with a lot of different opinions, but nobody truly knows what the Cardinals are going to do. And I think it's going to be a very, very intriguing first pick, and obviously all the dominoes that fall after that.
All right, obviously a lot of excitement leading up to this moment. Be sure to stay tuned on all of our social media channels and, of course, azcardinals.com.
Do you sense the excitement from Lisa and Kyle?
Yeah, and by the way, some excellent weather in Nashville, because earlier in the week there was some forecasts for thunder and some lightning, but let's hope Mother Nature lets that pass until maybe Sunday when everyone is out of there. But hey, it looks like a great setup, and when you can block off streets, as you were able to see as the background for where they were on that corner, you can kind of open it up and everyone can enjoy it, as opposed to a confined space where you've got to not have a ticket, but first come, first serve, and make sure everyone gets inside. But now when it's a little bit a larger venue and you go outside, then you can have different things going on even around the actual event itself. But it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, now the rumor is the NFL now prefers to be outside for the NFL draft. Now, it was in New York forever, and then eventually it went to Chicago and Philadelphia and Dallas, and obviously it's in Nashville. And next year it's going to be in Vegas, and I do think in 2021 maybe it's going to be in Los Angeles, the home of the Chargers and the Los Angeles Rams. And I don't know if it's leaving there. Now, there's a lot of cities. Denver would like to have it. I think Phoenix would like to have it. I just don't know where you would have it outside, considering it's going to be 99 tomorrow.
Well, I mean, if you're going to have it outside in Las Vegas, it's not much cooler.
I know, but you can build tents.
Oh, yes,
and stuff. You can pull out. You just got to get the red carpet. Once you get the red carpet, you're good. But yeah, the NFL, it sounds like they prefer to be outside now, and it's really become a huge event. I mean, people are arriving on Monday. Our crew arrived this morning.
Yeah, it's not just the 3 days. There's events leading into the draft as well, special appearances by not only the draft prospects, but former players as well, that you turn into, maybe even as early as a Tuesday, but certainly events going on Wednesday. And then it's not just the draft Thursday night, Friday night, and all day Saturday, but during the day and mornings on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, and they have, I think it's 22 prospects and been invited to the draft, and then they're going to have coaches like Lincoln Riley's going to be there, Nick Saban, Mark Stoops from Kentucky.
Well, Saban might not be there. He just underwent hip surgery, so I think he's going to watch it from home.
Well, it just says coaches confirmed. Anyways,
well, the hip surgery just happened recently.
Okay, David Cutcliffe, of course, everyone's going to be talking to him about Daniel Jones. Larry Johnson, the D-line coach at Ohio State, obviously, for Nick Bosa. So you're going to have Ed Orgeron there. He's got some LSU players. So it's nice to see some of these head coaches in college go there, because they know these players better than the experts are. We've watched, the guys that do the mocks, they've watched a lot of film, but they've been recruiting these guys for years. So nice to see some of these guys get a chance to. And David Shaw's done a really good job over the years. So it'll be nice to see them kind of give some more background and stories about these certain players they've been recruiting or they've coached.
It's kind of like the handoff. Yep. Them handing off there from 4 years or 2 years or 3 years of college to now you're a professional, in that transition period that allows them to kind of see, you spent so much time with them first recruiting, and then when they're on your campus, and then to see them succeed at the highest level and be a first-round pick. And even for those that are, day 2 or even day 3 draft picks, it's a big moment as well for those coaches and the respective schools.
Well, if you're Lincoln Riley, you walk into a living room and say, I had back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners.
Doesn't hurt.
Didn't Jalen Hurts transfer there?
He did.
I don't know if he's going to put up Murray and Baker Mayfield. I don't even know if he's projected to play quarterback in the NFL. I'm curious to see how he does. But if you're Lincoln Riley, Nick Saban, the SEC schools, you just walk in there, and a lot of, like Clemson, they list all their players that are in the NFL. ASU has a board listing all the players that have been drafted from ASU. That's a selling point.
Absolutely.
I mean,
everyone wants to continue on their playing career.
But if you could sit there and say, I had 2 back-to-back Heisman Trophy wins, oh, by the way, they could be possibly the first picks in the draft.
Yeah.
That's a selling point.
We'll know officially come just after 5 o'clock on Thursday as we continue here talking about the draft, and something that we've been doing a lot here on Cards Cover 2, leading the draft, going all the way back to the scouting combine, and then during the annual league meetings, we've been talking to a lot of different people, but this is something a little bit different here. I think very, very cool. It's called Soul and Science, a series that runs on the NFL Network, which explores the intangible factors, which is the soul, that make an athlete special, and the biomechanics, the science of elite athletic performance. During the scouting combine, John Brankus looked at a few of the top draft prospects. We're going to focus on two of the most closely associated or tied to the Cardinals at pick number 1, and those would be Kyler Murray and Nick Bosa. We'll first take a look at the soul and science of Kyler Murray.
There are all sorts of questions about the numbers surrounding Kyler Murray this week. We got clocked in 5'10 and 8, 207 pounds. What other numbers come to the top of your brain?
Well, I've never seen someone in the sports world where they just capture the entire world with how tall they were. Well, listen, now that we have that out of the way, we know how tall Murray is. Let me show you how good he actually is. So Murray's running game is clearly electric, but he also has a special arm. And because of his height, everyone's comparing him to Russell Wilson. But really, I think he's also a mini Mahomes. Now, for Murray, it's all about the kinetic linking. That's where you're drawing the energy from the ground up through your body to the end of your arm. That arm is acting like a whip, where the end of the whip is moving the fastest. That's how he can make throws of over 50 miles per hour. Just looks so effortless. Now, even when that kinetic chain is broken and he has to throw on the run, he's still incredibly dangerous. He's driving off that right leg, kicks the left leg forward. That increases his forward momentum. That allows his hips to rotate at over 500 degrees per second. Now, that's about 25% faster than average, which is why he's a threat not only in the pocket, but really from anywhere on the field.
One that's fascinating and well above my head on a lot of it, but I love how they slow it down, kind of dumb it down for you a little bit, but just to show you what it takes to be an elite athlete, and then just how sometimes your body movement, whether, as the piece mentioned, rotating your hips or swinging your foot just a little bit out, just to get you a little bit more on the throw. Because, look, there were some tight windows in college. They're going to be even tighter, and that's somewhat not a knock, but people are curious because how well will Murray be able to complete throws in the NFL? One, he had a great offensive line in Oklahoma. No guarantee he's going to have a great offensive line in the NFL. And then can he get the ball into tight windows in between double coverage and, in fact, throw it when someone is covered? Because sometimes you have to believe in your receiver who's going to get it or make sure the defender doesn't.
Yeah, but I think everything is going to be predicated on getting rid of the ball. Now, you're going to take some shots down the field, and one thing we're not going to have to worry about is he's going to be able to slide. You're not going to see him take some big hits. I mean, first of all, you got to catch him, but he's a baseball player, a former baseball player. I'm not worried about him going head first. He's going to slide, and hopefully he doesn't get hit where you get a 15-yard penalty. You don't want to see the guy get hit. But what's interesting about that video? All three guys they mentioned all have baseball background. Russell Wilson, now, granted, he's been in some camps.
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes, obviously his father played baseball. And now Kyler Murray. All those guys, and I like the fact that he said a mini Mahomes. Now, Mahomes is 6'3", 220, but it's the arm angles. It's the side throws. It's being able to throw in tight windows. Now, granted, a lot of those guys are going to get drafted that played with him. 6'4" and 6'5". He only had 5 passes batted down. 90% of his throws were inside the pocket. The only thing it concerns me is he drifts back a little bit because the linemen are not going to catch him. Now, it's a case, are the receivers going to continue running their routes? Are going to come back for the ball? Or the DB is going to plaster these guys? Because once he gets past the line of scrimmage, 53 yards, he's going to be able to get some first downs. But again, I'm not concerned about him taking those hits because he's going to slide a lot.
Well, he might be able to get more than just the first down. If you're looking at 3rd and 8 and he scrambles and sees a lane, he might be able to make that 8 yards and then some, because just the initial burst and in the speed, he is so fast, and we don't know how quick on the 40, but just game speed.
I got to think 4.3.
There's not a lot of people that are going to be able to catch him.
I know, and again, I know the Big 12's not known for defense. I'm just saying when he gets in the open field, and I don't want him running. We don't want this to turn into RG3. Now, when RG3 was playing and he got hurt, they're running that zone read where you're in the gun, and it all is predicated on the defensive end on either side, and you have the choice to put the ball in the belly of the running back if they're going to rush up the field, or you have the opportunity to take it out. And that's where RG3 got in trouble. Okay, he was running too much, and he eventually got hurt, and probably shouldn't have played in that postseason game. Mike Shanahan obviously was, fighting for his job there. This is totally different. RPOs, air raid concepts. You don't take as many hits as you do with the zone read. So that's kind of, I wouldn't say. I think that's more on the back burner. We don't see the zone read anymore. We see the RPOs where, again, you have the option to change the play at the line of scrimmage, where run-pass option. And then the fact is they want to get rid of the ball less than 2.5 seconds, and that's where the bubble screens come. That's where the jet sweeps come. And you know how I feel about that. Those are, to me, are extended run plays, high percentage. Hopefully you got to hold on to the football, though.
All right, now let's find out more about Nick Bosa. Once again, John Brinkus.
Talk about the science and the defensive side of the football. If you watch today, these guys are freakish athletes, so kind of help me out here.
It was an amazing day, right at the top of the list for me and for everybody else really is Nick Bosa. We did a breakdown of Bosa, and when you try to compare him, other than the obvious comparison to his brother Joey, you really see a lot of similarities to one of the best edge rushers in the game, and that's DeMarcus Lawrence. They both dominate with long, fast, powerful strides to get to the ball carrier, but Bosa also has excellent hands to shed blockers. He also loves to vary his stride. He uses a chop step, makes his stride 20% shorter and wider to weave his way through the line. It makes him nimble to go around the edge or right up the middle to the quarterback. Here, he drives off his right foot with a single step of about 700 pounds of force. That makes his modified swim move simply unstoppable. And then on a bull rush, where he has both arms together, he lifts a lineman who's 289 pounds right off his feet. You combine that with a great quick first step, he can take a step in just over half a second. In this play, that's as fast as it takes the ball to actually reach the quarterback. There's a good reason why Bosa is being spoken as the #1 draft pick. He just has an insane skill set.
I watch that and immediately think, all right, Bosa on one end, Chandler Jones on the other end, and if you're the two tackles, that's a lot of pressure. And then if you're the quarterback, all of a sudden that clock starts ticking right even before you have the ball, realizing that I better get it out of my hands fast.
When they show that's what they call get off. He has great get off. He explosion off the ball, and he's just an alpha male. I mean, he's tough. It'd be hard to pass on him, but obviously, they got to figure out what's best for the future, and obviously the quarterback and Quentin Williams, he should be in the conversation, and I think he is. I mean.
Well, there's several that believe Williams is the best overall prospect in this draft, maybe with the best upside as well, because of I've heard comparisons. Aaron Donald. I've even heard some with Reggie White, just about the disruption.
Whoa!
Hey, not.
I know,
but
more traits.
Yeah, what they are able to do on the college level, and now you project that to the NFL level, and just how disruptive you can be up the middle, because coming off the edge, it's a lot longer to the quarterback or to the ball carrier. Up the middle, you can cause a little bit more problems.
Well, you could see they were running some stunts at Ohio State. In other words, you kind of crisscross each other. The outside defensive end is actually going to let the D-tackle block down, and they're going to come inside. There's nothing worse for a quarterback. I don't care if he's in the gun or under center if you're getting pressure up the middle. Because now, again, take them off their spot. Yep. That's what Vance Joseph wants to do. Yeah, we love sacks. But again, the hurries, pressures, and knockdowns lead to turnover. If you can get him off his spot, that's the main thing. Force him to throw the ball a little bit quicker than he wants to, or he's padding the ball, and that's where you can get the sacks.
And then the strength that you saw, as far as being able to, and they slowed it down, and lift an offensive lineman literally
200,
off
close
his feet.
To 300 pounds.
I mean, we say that, and it's almost like just part of the description, but then actually to see it is one thing.
How about when he was rushing inside and he literally took that arm, moved that left tackle, and was able to basically put distance between him and get to the quarterback? It was a short distance to get to the quarterback. Now, again, the Big Ten more runs the football. They don't have a lot of great quarterbacks. At least they haven't. Nothing against Tom Brady. But if Dwayne Haskins goes, he'll be the first quarterback from the Big Ten since Kerry Collins.
1994. 5?
Now, in fairness to Drew Brees, we only had 31 teams at that time. Drew Brees was the first pick in the second round. So if we had 32 teams, Brees would have been a first-round pick. But Haskins could be the first Big Ten quarterback in the first round since Collins.
Well, we'll see what happens. Again, it is Thursday night, just after 5 o'clock. All the guessing, all the speculation comes to an end. Now, 15 years ago, in fact, 15 years ago today, the Cardinals, with the 3rd overall pick, drafted someone by the name of Larry Fitzgerald. Not sure if you've heard about him, but here's his draft story in his own words.
Larry Fitzgerald, first round, 2004, University of Pittsburgh. I got invited to the draft in 2004, and I just wanted to spend it with my loved ones and everybody that's been around me and with me since day one. So I ended up going to Chicago. We spent our time down at the Chicago Hilton right there on Lake Michigan, and we had about 150 people there from family. People come from Minnesota, people came from Pittsburgh, a lot of people came from Chicago, and it was a really fun day. A lot of food and drinks, and we just spent a lot of quality time together. It seemed like it took forever. Even though I went in 3rd pick, it just seemed like it took a long time, a lot of suspense. I actually never even got a visit to the Cardinals. I only took one visit when I came out of school. That was the San Diego Chargers. And after they picked number 1, I talked to Mike Lombardi on the phone. He was the Raiders general manager at that time, and he actually went to Valley Forge Military Academy, my same school, so we had talked previously. And so I initially thought I was going to go number 2 to Oakland, but they decided on taking Robert Gallery, and then Dennis Green and Rod Graves drafted me here to the Arizona Cardinals. I remember it vividly. I was on the phone, and my dad was right there with me and my brother, and then we just all kind of had a big embrace. And it was one of those moments that I'll never forget in my life. It was a special time, and all the family was there, and everybody, we did a big cheer. And I got the phone call first before it actually announced on the big screen. So me and my dad and my brother were off kind of in the corner when I was on the phone, and then I heard the Cardinals put the pick in, and then I heard everybody else out there cheering, and it was an awesome experience. It was a lot of work, just coming from Pop Warner through high school, doing it in college. It was a lot of work, and I just thought about all the people that helped me along the way, from my coaches and the teachers in the classroom, and my parents and my mom and dad's friends from around the time, babysitting us, taking us to football practice, and just so many people that were involved in it. And it just made you thankful and appreciative of the hard work that people around me put in to help me live and accomplish my dreams. I'm Larry Fitzgerald, and that's my draft story.
We get caught up on pre-draft visits. Yeah. Everyone wants to know where everyone is going or visiting, and you just hear Larry Fitzgerald said, I had one visit, San Diego Chargers. Didn't even visit the Cardinals. Of course, there was obviously a history and a connection with Dennis Green and Larry Fitzgerald Sr., but certainly a pick well worth it for the Arizona Cardinals 15 years ago today.
The Cardinals were nervous not only for what Oakland might do ahead of them. You knew the quarterback was going to go first, but Oakland was kind of like, okay, which way do they go? Al Davis liked
speed.
In wide receiver, and Larry he's not slow. I think that's overblown a little bit. He could scoot, but I was going through some sound in the archives a while ago, and I came across Dennis Green's post-draft presser, and he's talking about how Jacksonville was on the phone with Oakland, and they knew Jacksonville wanted a wide receiver. So Denny was getting really, really nervous that Jacksonville was going to go up to 2 and get Larry. Obviously, they took Robert Gallery, and the Cardinals ended up with Larry. And I'm looking here in Jacksonville, they were at 9, so that would have been a pretty hefty price to come up to 2. They ended up with Reggie Williams, a wide receiver. Roy Williams went to Detroit at 7, so he was off the board before Jacksonville could get to him as well. But it's just kind of interesting how they were hoping and praying that Jacksonville would not trade up with Oakland to select Larry.
In a Jacksonville Jaguars uniform.
I can't picture it.
Number 11? Nah, it doesn't fit.
That would have been one contract, and I'm out of here.
he would eventually have wound up with the Cardinals, perhaps.
I don't know about that. Now, Larry, speed could be overrated. It's about separation, 50-50 balls. We know I'll take my chances with him 9 out of 10 times. But Jimmy's right. Al Davis loves speed, and we always make the joke, if Larry had Cliff Branch speed, like 4.25, 4.3, they would have taken him. But then he made it very clear, I'm taking the best player in the draft. Now we can build the quarterback position between Roethlisberger, Rivers, and Manning, all Hall of Famers, throwing Fitz in there. Great draft class. I mean, you're talking about franchise guys.
Sean Taylor at number 5,
Sean Taylor, elite Sean Taylor.
Quite the draft back in 2004. We'll see what happens here in 2019. With that, how about we hear from the Bird Gang? Your questions via social media using the hashtag CardsCover2. Hashtag CardsCover2. We'll begin with Instagram user at AC_Cas11. What's the main goal in the draft this year for the Cardinals?
Well, to get some guys that either provide depth, and if you're looking at the first couple of rounds, hopefully plug-and-play guys. You got to get it right. I mean, I know it's a crapshoot, and we probably need to wait 3 years to evaluate any draft class. But, they're still got some needs, and they'll stick to their board. But I think wide receiver and D-line and offensive line, I think they need some depth at safety. It wouldn't surprise me if they try to go out and get a slot corner. So they got to check some boxes here, but they've done a good job in free agency and the waiver claim. So they don't have to play catch-up here. Now they can really stick to their board and decide what they want to do in the later rounds.
User at Kendall_Cakes. Who is your top prospect in this draft, regardless of position?
I would say Quinn Williams.
Just his athleticism, what he showed at the scouting combine was incredible. I'd agree.
I don't think you can go wrong with Bosa, but I'll go with Williams.
And then the other one, and I'm blanking, the linebacker,
Devin White.
Yeah,
I think he's going to have a nice long career, and we'll see if he drops out of number 5. Tampa's picking 5. We'll see if they, because they got Buck there, but Buck's not the same guy he was 5 years ago. This guy he reminds me of Darrell Washington. Now, Washington slipped to the second round. He had some red flags coming out. But I just like the guy that can play 3 downs and go from sideline to sideline. He can cover. He can come off the edge and blitz. Devin White's, I think, on paper. Now, I'll give true serum here. Long time ago, a guy named Aaron Curry.
I remember.
Linebacker for the Seahawks. I thought he was a can't-miss prospect, and he didn't have a nice NFL career. So it's a guess.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's going to be a draft prospect here in the first 15 picks that we're going to be talking about that in 5 years from now. Going, wow, that was a real miss.
When Jimmy mentioned Sean Taylor, and we talk about 3 quarterbacks in Larry, the odd man out there was Robert Gallen.
Yes. And that was a huge disappointment for the Raiders. One more from Instagram at DiazPHP14 wants to know, whoever is chosen at number 1, how can he help the Arizona Cardinals become a playoff contender?
Well, I mean, I don't know what the expectations are going to be. I mean, this team is still trying to, find their identity. You're talking about a new head coach that doesn't have NFL experience. You're going to have a lot of new faces. So and it's not just the first pick. I know we focus so much on it, and next year hopefully the Cardinals are not picking in the top 5 or the top 10. That means they're winning games. But for the most part, I mean, they got to start building for the future, and I don't think you can go wrong with Bosa, Williams, or Murray.
And as far as a playoff contender, they'll be part of that 11-man, whether it's offense or defense.
Yes.
They'll be a huge contributor, if not a starter.
Exactly. I mean, to me, the first couple rounds, those guys, and again, if you draft a lineman in the second round, you'd have to have an injury. But if Gilbert's on a 1-year deal and Humphreys needs to stay healthy, all of a sudden you don't have to go out and force big money in free agency. You already have a guy on your roster.
Let's move to Twitter. User at Cardinals_31 wants to know, who are your draft sleepers and who do you think are likely to be taken higher than they should be? Well, I can answer the second part of that. Quarterbacks are always taken higher than where they're projected to be or based overall, because the perfect example is Kyler Murray. There is no one that covers the draft that has him in their top 10. No one.
You mean overall?
Overall, as far as just your prospects, not a mock or whatever, but your overall draft prospects.
Well, I think we could see, if the Cardinals go offense with the first pick, I think we'd see 5 or 6 defensive players go right after that. Because I don't know if a team's going to move up for Haskins or, Drew Lock or Daniel Jones. I think you can get those guys from 6 to 14 or 15. So it'd be interesting to see how many quarterbacks go in the top 15.
As far as sleepers,
I like a corner from Michigan, Long. He's a guy that's he's got good size and speed. I don't think you would take him in the second or maybe third round, but I think they need another corner, even though they're saying Tremaine Brock. He's got experience playing nickel, but I want somebody that's a little bit more athletic at that position.
Locally, I mean, it's not much of a sleeper. Everyone knows about Rennell Wren out of Arizona State, but there are a lot of people that believe he can be someone that's taken maybe day 2, late third, or even obviously on day 3 that can be a significant improvement to whichever team he gets drafted to.
Yeah, it's David Long from Michigan. A couple other guys, Calvin Harmon, a wide receiver from NC State. I know we talk about Hollywood Brown and DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. I like Calvin Harmon from NC State, and then you look at Riley Ridley. His brother Calvin Ridley was drafted last year, so he comes from a family that obviously they've had football for a long time. So you start getting Hakeem Butler is another guy, and I'm talking more about receivers here, but I do like the corner from Michigan, Long.
One more Twitter question, and this should be pretty fun. User at Tom Hudson336. Which is the greatest Cardinals draft class of all time? And then he adds, love the show from the UK, trying to stay awake for draft nights.
All right, we talked about it earlier, the 2004 class, but I wanted to defer to Jimmy here. Jimmy, do you remember something in St. Louis where Otis Anderson, we're going back in time to date, Conrad Dobler, they had some Hall of Fame players, at least guys that were all pros and Pro Bowl players. Do you remember
well, I don't remember. I was 3 years old,
okay.
but
you've been around the team forever.
1979 would have been a good one because they ended up the top pick was Otis Anderson out of Miami, who set the rookie rushing record. I'm pretty sure it's been broken since then. He had like almost 1,800 yards.
Super Bowl MVP too with the Giants.
And another guy, some guy named Roy Calvin Green, who
I guess we have to mention that name.
Roy. He was, and there's a few other ones in that class. I want to say that.
Roger Worley's class, maybe Larry Wilson.
Yeah, those guys were a little bit earlier, but 1979, I mean, Otis Anderson and Roy Green, that's not a bad thing. But 2004 is the more recent one from the Arizona history that everyone points to.
Yeah, and that would be Larry Fitzgerald, Carlos Dansby, Darnell Dockett, and Antonio Smith.
Yeah, I actually I saw this question earlier, so I actually kind of went back and looked in the media guide, and I'll just throw out some, and it's not. I was just kind of looking at maybe some depth, but how about 1998? Now, Andre Wadsworth didn't pan out, but that was Corey Chavis, Michael Pittman, and some guy by the name of Pat Tillman, 7th round selection. So that's 1998. 2001, Leonard Davis, Adrian Wilson, Kyle Vandenbosch.
Wow, that's pretty good.
So I mean, if you're just looking for, not name value, but as far as guys who were contributors,
I like that.
And stuck around for a long time. I mean, Leonard Davis was number 2 overall selection. I don't think he gets enough credit based off his time in the NFL, and specifically with the Cardinals. But certainly, just in recent memory, and of course what it led to with the Super Bowl run, 2004. It's tough to beat when you have all 7 of those players ended up starting at some point, but you had 4 that were the anchors.
Yes.
1 on offense and then 3 on defense.
Yeah, see, that's to me, you got to come up with 4 names. But Leonard Davis, the thing was, is he a guard? Is he a tackle? Do you take a guard that high? I'll never forget it. I don't know.
Just a monster of a man.
Oh, man. He's huge. I think he had size 20 shoe. John Wetzel had a 19 or 20 last year. I think that's the largest the Cardinals had. But Leonard Davis, I don't know if it was in the preseason. They went against the Chicago Bears, and I watched, somebody sent me the video afterwards. He picked up Mike Brown and just body slammed him. It was like nothing. Mike Brown's coming in the box or running the ball. He's obviously free, getting to the second layer. He literally picks him up and body slams him.
It was with one arm, too.
Yeah.
Like Mike Brown left his feet to go try to knock down a pass that wasn't thrown. It was a pump fake. Leonard just grabbed him and just slammed him right on the – and I believe it was preseason, the third game of the preseason or something.
Who takes the third game? Now, the thing with Leonard, too, is when the defensive ends would put their arms up or tackles, he would punch him right in the side right here. Imagine getting punched by Leonard Davis. It's football. It's a physical sport.
It's not a penalty unless someone throws a flag.
No, but when the guy's got his hand up.
Because you immediately.
And you hit the rib part, you got to protect yourself. But he did that a few times.
Remember when he saved the horse?
Oh, that's right.
There was a horse.
Yes, I think know this story.
And Gilbert.
Yeah, and he became a cowboy.
Yeah.
You know that song, Save a Horse, Become a Cowboy? No, that's not it.
Yeah, it's
something
the
else.
other way around.
But
yeah.
he's from Texas, so
but
it makes
anyway,
sense.
yeah, he had a ranch, I think, and there was a horse stuck in mud, and he got his like big old truck, or maybe it was a tractor, and he rescued the horse. Maybe it was a neighbor.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, one of his neighbor's
There's some
horses.
video of it.
Yeah, good guy.
Great guy. He was in camp a couple years ago.
he was. I was spotted. Well,
it's
maybe
hard
not
to
year,
miss.
but a couple years ago. You're like, who's that large?
Okay,
that's Leonard Davis.
okay. This is a funny story. So when the Cardinals brought in Leonard Davis for a visit, he came out to the field with Rod Graves. It looked like the number 10. He had this tall guy in Rod. Rod Graves, great guy. But Jake Plummer walked over to Graves during the practice and said, "Draft this guy. Draft him right now." But it looked like the number 10 out there.
Yeah, I could see that.
Big Len. It's so nice. Like, he had a mean streak when he put the helmet on, but he was just a nice guy.
By the way, a reminder, a special draft preview show of Cards Cover 2 coming your way tomorrow at 4 o'clock, just ahead of the 5 o'clock draft starting. And if you want to follow along on social media, not only during the first round, but all rounds, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the official hashtag is Cards Draft.
So we're 25 hours?
Yes.
My math was wrong the last hour. I said 27, but who's counting?
I wasn't going to tell you.
Yeah.
Well, at least you knew it.
I figured I did it like...
He manned up.
When I said it, I'm like, no,
I was kind of doing the math in my head. I was like, he's wrong. But I wasn't going to correct
you.
Now,
right now, tomorrow at this time, the Cardinals are on the clock.
Yes.
No, an hour from now.
Well, 25 hours from
25.
now. Yes.
Yeah, 25. But I mean, we'll be on the air.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll be on the air.
Yeah, a little footnote from that 1979 St. Louis football Cardinals draft. Remember I said that you had Otis Anderson, you had Roy Green. 7th round pick was a tight end from Michigan State, who we all know here in Arizona.
I know who it is. Kirk Gibson.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
I forgot he was drafted.
He was
by
a
the Cardinals.
stud in college. I mean, that guy could play he could probably play any sport.
He made a good decision to play baseball. Speaking of the baseball versus football decision.
Yeah.
Remember Brian Jordan?
Yeah.
Safety of the Falcons that ended up playing for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Now, when did is it Ahmad Rashad? What was his name? Bobby Moore. Bobby Moore. When was he in St. Louis? In the 70s?
Yeah, it was in the 70s. He holds a distinction, him and Jim Hart, the longest non-scoring play in NFL history. 99 yards. Jim Hart threw it from his own goal line, and he caught it probably 30 yards downfield and then raced all the way, and he got caught at the inside the one.
Oh.
So, and that's a thing that it can never be broken.
Right.
That's the longest
tie
non-scoring.
but you can't break it.
Ahmad Rashad, Bobby Moore.
Nice.
Yeah, you can tie it, but you can't break it. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's amazing because that's what Jim Hart said. He's like, yeah, it's a record that'll never be broken. Could be tied, but
it's going to be tough to break Aeneas's record, 104-yard
fumble return
in the Redskins game 2 days before the vote.
Yeah,
that was
and
huge.
That's probably the little asterisk next to that play as it helped sway. And you got this State Farm Stadium.
And Mr. B and Larry Wilson went down there the following day and measured it
just to make sure.
Yeah, history.
Document it.
Yep.
Always fun to reminisce. And again, we are waiting. We are almost there yet. Yes, we are. Draft 2019 coming your way tomorrow. Until then, special thanks to all those behind the scenes. Tim Delaney, Jim Omahundro, Devin Henry, and Jackson Sipes. For my partner, Mike Jurecki, I'm Craig Grialou. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Draft day, first round, Cardinals on the clock. This has been Cards Cover 2.